Welcome into the JAG Show podcast, back into the Friday swing of things, whether you're listening on your favorite podcast app or you're watching on IGTV or YouTube. Thanks for joining me. As always, I want to start with a tip of the week, and my tip this week is to have patience and grace when it comes to technology. Something I really pride myself on is having a lot of patience when somebody navigates new technology, especially when it comes to a podcast. And if you look at 2020, we've had tons of new technology. You know, am I on mute and can you see my screen have been said probably more this year than ever before. And people are kind of figuring it out because they've been forced into it with the pandemic. A lot of people are new to podcasting, a lot of technology. Do you have the right microphone selected? Can I hear you? Are you muted? All that kind of stuff. And getting the settings just right is going to make your podcast sound better. And if you can make your guest comfortable and patient and not lose their cool, it will make for such a better interview. And in my case, or anybody who has podcast clients, if you walk them through stuff and you're patient about it, it really will create a lot of customer loyalty. I was actually on the other side of this last week as I host trivia. We've kind of moved from paper answer sheets so people aren't kind of walking up to you and handing stuff to doing it online. So I've got a Google form and I've got a Google sheet and I've got a QR code. And it's new to me, but I've kind of figured out how to do most of it. Well, I had a problem with it last week, and people were able to edit the sheets instead of just putting their answer in, and it took me about 15 minutes to get it figured out. So we started our trivia game about 10-15 minutes late, but people understand that it's a new world for all of us, and they were patient with me. I really appreciated it. The game went well. So all I'm saying is be patient when it comes to technology and the people you're working with. All right, on to this week's podcasting news. Nice little piece from NPR in our show notes today about forgetting the inverted pyramid. Try the inverted trapezoid, which is basically, in the old days of journalism, you would say, put all the big stuff at the top. It's an inverted triangle or an inverted pyramid. And so when you have to cut off the end of a newspaper story, you're only cutting off the little stuff at the bottom. It doesn't matter that much. Not true in a podcast. You want to give them good information all the way through. So inverted trapezoid, that link from NPR in the show notes. How much has the COVID-19 / coronavirus pandemic affected things in terms of listening? It has in some ways, it hasn't in others. So really great webinar last week from Edison Research and the great Tom Webster about how podcast listening and overall audio consumption has changed with the pandemic. Spoiler alert, while some habits have changed, the numbers haven't changed all that much. Okay, Spotify, again in the news, as always this week. They list Michelle Obama as having the top podcast in the world, and they've also added her friends Harry and Meghan. Yes, that Harry and Meghan. Some controversy, as Jimmy Fallon would say, for the podcast company Spotify this week. Joe Budden is leaving the platform after saying they just treated him horribly and really did not do right by him. That is linked in the show notes as well. Also, Joe Rogan's show finally now on Spotify. Some of his more controversial episodes are missing, including interviews with Alex Jones from InfoWars and others. I'm not touching that story as far as commentary. I'm just saying there's really no right answer there, I don't think. James Cridland, who does PodNews, they have a new newsletter. It's called, it's about ad tech, and it's called Sounds Profitable. Sounds is spelled with a $sign. You can get a link to that subscription in the podcast show notes in this episode as well if you want to stay on top of the latest ad tech in terms of podcasting. That, of course, changing quickly as always. International Podcast Day is September 30th. It is now September, and if you told me that it was June right now, I'd believe you because time means nothing in 2020. Thanks for checking out the JAG Show podcast, the audio version or the video version. Last week, I got better results on IGTV than I did on YouTube, for whatever that's worth. That was my experiment. As always, if you have any questions about podcasting or need help launching, tweaking your show, you can feel free to reach out to me. You can send me an email, JAG, at jagindetroit.com, or you can find me on social media at JAGinDetroit. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll talk to you next week. Later.